Greetings and welcome to Project Pandora. I am Darkling and this of course is Ark Survival Evolved. In the background, as you can see, the structure of Project Pandora is really taking shape. The flyer deck is already being assembled. It'll probably look a little bit different once the structures are finished being put into place. Maybe there will be still a little bit of a gap there, but I can't be sure until it's actually finished. So stick around while we work on the flyer deck a little bit more, and hopefully we'll get that finished today. Okay, so again we are on the flyer deck doing some more work on that. Oh, I actually chopped myself up with the wrong resource, of course. Okay, so I've just got enough weight to hold this. Oops. Always a great start to a video when you can't place the first item. So I'm still not sure if this is going to be the absolute width. I'm thinking I might take the structure inwards one. I'll still keep a hard edge at the bottom. I quite like how that looks over there. But we'll see once I've got a little bit more of the structure in place. I'll need to be sticking a railing on. Now when I do the railing, okay, that was okay. Yep, that happened. That was a thing. I've been doing battlements a lot lately, and I'm not going to do it this time. I could do it, and it would probably look really cool, but I've kind of overdone it. I need a build where I don't fill it full of castle battlements. So, in order to do that, I'm going to just stick with a railing, and I'm probably going to take this top layer, like I said, into the base a little bit. Looks like I've got the layers completed. Excellent. I actually thought I was going to need a lot more resources than that, so I probably stocked up on the wrong ones. So I think from here I will I'll do that one first. Carry the weight. Now I need to be able to get in and out of here, and I don't want to have to keep using the fly, so I'm just going to stick that in. I have to squat to get under, but that's not a problem. Set up my hotbar properly again. Go to a 4, that's more comfortable for this. So I can't say it enough. Whenever you're building, make sure you set your hotbar up properly. Keep it easy on yourself. Don't muck around and have everything set up in 7, 8, 9, unless it's stuff that you're not really using. Now at the moment I don't normally build with this little flicking motion. What I'll normally do is, there we go. See, I can't do that one. And it's a little bit more awkward holding the keys like I am to do this, but it should speed things up a bit. Oop, that didn't place. Okay, I'm clicking a lot to get that to place. I don't know why that wasn't. Oops, too early. So what I'm doing is I've got, instead of keeping my hands on the actual arrow keys, I've just got one finger on the strafe right and one finger on the 4. a good way to strafe to build, because you're going to be building the same thing. If you've got something like this where it's easy to place, it works really well. Walls, as long as you don't have to worry about dual snaps or anything like that, you can get through a build pretty quick. Just got to get that initial alignment right. Wrong button, that's why it's not working. A little bit darker, but I can actually see the see what I'm placing now. The colours they use for the placement, I find they're ghosting too much. Like they're really hard for me to see. I'd like to see a bit of difference in what we can actually set ourselves. Yeah, I can't believe that made it all the way around. I thought I'd need another stack at least. Yeah, I'd like to see some customization on like placement colors and things like that for those of us that do have issues with the color schemes that they've got. I've mentioned it before that the supply drops, there is actually a mod that fixes it so people with colorblind can actually see them properly, and I had it installed for a while, but I ended up removing it because it doesn't get updated anymore, and it was actually messing with the supply drops that I was using, because I had, actually I'm not even sure if I've still got them installed on this machine. I actually had custom supply drops set up. It's a bit of a tedious process to go through. What I did is I found it was actually through the colorblind mod. They actually had their own supply drop list, and I modified it so that I could use it for my own. But mouse is on the glitch. Since they made changes to the game, since the mod was made, those bits of code weren't really getting applied properly, which is really unfortunate because I really liked having the mod installed. If it still worked, I would have talked the admin of the server that I play on. I would have been trying to talk them into installing it, but I have read somewhere that Wildcard was planning to install it in the overall game, so I really hope they get in and hurry up with that, because it makes a hell of a difference for me. Like right now, the blue and purple drops look pretty much identical, green and red, they look pretty much identical. So I see about 10% of the colour spectrum. So I'm probably going to end up repeating myself here, because when you've done so many videos, like so many of these in a row, you kind of lose track of what you have and haven't actually said to people. Now, these two are being problematic. I wonder if I can snap them from above. You can get these glasses that correct it, and what it is, it shifts the red spectrum, because that's what's screwed. The infrared spectrum, I believe it is. Infrared? Something like that. It is definitely the red spectrum. And it shifts it so that we can see the colours, because what it is we've got too much red bleeding through. Too much, or not, it's one or the other. So I end up seeing 10% of the colour spectrum, which is significantly low. I really love the glasses you can get that allow you to see properly. Obviously, there's certain kinds you can get outdoor ones, indoor ones, but for the price of them, I'd be too terrified to actually wear them. They're like $800 New Zealand currency, which is easily a number of weeks of wages for me without paying bills. But for games like this, I don't. There's only a few times here and there that it really becomes a problem. But in the real world, it's kind of annoying because I get asked to pick something up. My other half, she's fully aware that I can't do colours, and she'll forget. And I get sent to do an errand or something, and can you get me the blue one, or look for the person with the red shirt, and I usually just end up staring at whoever it was that gave me the job and just like stare at them for a minute, and then they go, "Oh, color's right." It's amazing how annoying it actually is. I actually was quite disappointed with my art teacher when I was at school, because I think it was intermediate was where I first got diagnosed, and I remember starting the year in art and saying to the teacher, "Look, I'm colour deficient, I can't tell the colours properly, can you help?" And she said, "Look, I'll be here, I'll help you out and make sure you get the right colours," and yada yada yada. She helped me the first day and never again, which is unfortunate, but it's what happens. And then you go through the I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there that have the colour deficiency, colour blindness, whatever you want to call it, that went through the whole, "Oh, you're not colourblind," from other students, "Oh, what colour's this, what colour's this," and you go, they literally go through a pencil case and pull out everything of different colours and ask you what colour it is, and then they'll undoubtedly pull something out, like something that we can see properly, like yellow, and they'll be like, "What colour's this?" and you say, "Yellow." "No, it's blue." It's like, "No, it isn't." It's yellow, I know, I can see that colour. Ah, kids these days. Well, those days. I'm sure it's probably still happening. It actually becomes a problem too if you... I mean, I don't have problems with traffic lights, because that's red, orange, green, obviously. I was going to say it's red, blue, green, but yeah, that'd be too cliche for me to actually say it. I can tell those apart. Usually I don't even bother trying to tell them apart, I just look for where on the traffic lights it actually is. Not that I drive these days. I actually walk everywhere. I used to have motorbikes. Most of my time on the road was on a sports bike of one sort or another. I'm not really a car person. Like I don't mind like traveling in cars, but I have a kind of, I suppose I'd lose the issue if I'd been driving enough, but I feel uncomfortable when I'm on one side of something. Like if I'm in the center of whatever it is I'm driving, or riding in this case, I don't have a problem. But when I actually have to sit to one side, I find that for some reason it kind of screws with me. Why is that not? It really does not want to snap note. Okay, let's snap it to an opposite. Well, that didn't help. See if I can... Yeah, 4, it's all good. It's fine, I'll come back and fix that. Oh. Yeah, I've always liked sports bikes. I never thought growing up that I was going to get a motorbike, but I spent so much time on a bike as a kid, like just regular push bikes. When I finally got a motorbike, I actually found it really comfortable. The first day I actually had my bike, I was driving in gridlock traffic and had not a care in the world. And all my friends that used to drive cars would always say, "Oh, you wait, you'll get over it before long. You'll get bored of it." Because because they all got bored of driving their cars. You know, when they first got their cars, it was always, oh, I've got a car, I'm going to go out driving, and they all sort of lost interest after a while. And with the bike, I never had that. I was always loving to ride around. Still to this day, I love bikes. I don't ride anymore. I had some issue, or nothing dodgy or anything like that. I just had some issues financially, and I couldn't afford to run a bike. And the bike I had to get rid of. And when I eventually had the money to actually have my bike again, I went to renew my license, because in our country you can ride a motorbike on a learner's license, which is 250 cc's, and you've got free reign of the road. You're just not meant to take passengers. Whoops. But I never really needed anything above 250 cc's. I always had two strokes. And two-stroke motorbike, it's basically you take the cc rating and double it, and that's the four-stroke equivalent. So a four-stroke would be what you would normally have in a car, whereas a two-stroke, it revs a lot higher, and it gives you pretty much double the power for the amount of cc's you've got. So with a 250cc, you driving around town, they're fast as, real nippy little things. But when I went to get my license renewed, the laws had changed a lot, because over the years, things like identity theft and whatnot have come about, and to combat that, they've stopped accepting certain forms of identification. And I wasn't actually born in New Zealand, I was born in England, and came across when I was 5 on my mother's passport. Well, since then, they've changed it that even little kids have to have passports. So my mother passed away a number of years ago, and I don't know what happened to her passport, but I definitely don't have it. And because I was on her passport, I don't actually have, like, I am legally allowed to be here, I am a permanent resident, but I don't actually have the ID that I should have for being here. And they no longer accept my UK birth cert to count as identification, because you need photo ID. So once my license expired, because being a learner's license, it wasn't a permanent license, and I never got anything more, because, you know, why would I? A learner's license, I could ride a 250 quite happily. I considered getting a bigger, faster bike, but I was already getting enough speeding tickets with a 250cc to bother going any bigger. So yeah, that ended up expiring, and when I finally had the cash to go and actually renew it, I couldn't. It was just past the cutoff period, which was really unfortunate. Okay, so the inside of this is now completed. I believe there's a couple of spots I need to fill in. Now, did I leave? No, I didn't. Take 5 of those. I doubt I'll need that many. Oh no, actually I wanted to fill the center in one more, didn't I? Because as far as it goes, this is not quite enough space. I need another tile. Did I fill it? Oh, I had filled it in. Okay, that's cool. Again, I think I'm going to swap over if I can, and do squares on the larger part. Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Oops. So I'm going to save tiles by swapping to squares instead of tries. So yeah, I really enjoy motorbikes. Again, it comes down to not wanting to get speeding tickets and whatnot. I wasn't reckless, I was very cautious in a lot of respects. I did do some stupid things, as you always do when you're young on a vehicle, but the thing is, when you have a motorbike, is you've got to remember a few key things. In a car, if you lose control, depending on what you're doing at the time, it's not necessarily that bad. If you just slide around a corner, you lose traction or whatnot, you're generally still going to be on 4 wheels. On a bike, you go around a corner, you've only got 2 wheels between you and the ground. So that's a good reason to get really good tyres. So I always made sure I ran really good tyres on my bike. God, if I remember correctly, it was Bridgestone Battle Axe BT45s. I love those tyres, they were great. They were made so they were sticky on the outside and hard wearing on the middle. So when you're going around the corners, the stickiness helped you obviously stick to the road. And the hard wearing centre was when you're in traffic and stuck, you know, having to obey the road rules and whatnot. But I've had a few bikes, and like I said, I've been silly buggers on them a little bit. I've been pulled over doing a few high speeds that I shouldn't have been doing. I was always very nice to the officers. I'm not the kind of person that would get upset for being pulled over. I've done something wrong, I accept that, and the cops caught me out. You know, I'm not going to abuse him for doing his job, and that's actually gotten me out of a few tickets, just being nice to the cop. It comes back to what I was saying in one of my other videos: don't be a dick. Right? Whatever you're doing, just don't be a dick. Right? Hassle each other and whatnot. When it comes down to it, if you're not a dick to people, you'll get much further in life. Wow, I say that, you'll get much further socially. It is a proven thing that if you're an ass to people, you tend to actually do better in a job. It's a very disappointing statistic to find out, but it is unfortunately the case. But that doesn't mean you should be a dick to people. This is starting to really come together. I think once we've got some railings on here, it's really going to take shape a bit more. One of the other reasons I wanted to cut this into the center a little bit more is to cut off that light that you could see through the build. So when we were down on the ground, when we were looking up, there was a nice big light section through the middle of it. I didn't really like the look of that. Definitely going to have to go and get some more railings. Thankfully I don't have any dual snaps to worry about here, so these should be straight place. At least once I get my alignment right. Apparently I'm trying to place too fast. Oops. Now when you're picking these up, notice the shape and how they've got gaps in the middle. When you change them to a half wall, keep in mind that doesn't change the hitbox. So if you shoot in the middle of them, you may miss the railing and hit something behind it. Trust me, this is the case. I have done it far too many times. Okay, so I'm going to need to grab another lot of railings. Man, that's looking really cool. Can't wait to see it from below actually. Now I've got all of the shaping in. Yep. That's working for me. So I'm going to need more pillars to connect it to the base. So what does it look like from below? That's the question. Ah, good, I've lost that piece of light. I was actually thinking of adding another one in if it's still happening. And you can see the Rex sticking his head out the side. No, that's cool. That's going quite nicely. So, stack of boxes. box there. Now you notice I don't run up to the actual box. I'm trying to keep as close as I can to the Quetzal so I can just turn around and place directly onto it. So 200, I think I'll do another box there. Another 100. That should bring me up to as much as I need. Okay, now I want to just go over to here. As you can see, this is the mini Pandora. This is the little starter. Now I can see a little bit of light through there. I don't really like that. I don't mind when you get further up. That's no problem though, I can stick another row of ceilings on the inside. See, this is where the aesthetic properties come in. I'm trying to keep things looking the way I want them to from the angles I want them to. Now I could leave it as it is and be quite happy with it, but I want it to look the way I think it should look from the angles. Come on. And it's not hard to put the extra tile in. It's not going to affect the build below because I made it so tall. You can still put golems in here, you just don't put them close to the edge. A golem you're going to need about 9 tiles high. So once this is complete, I've got to work out where I'm going from there. I think from here I've got 2 options to go with that I'm contemplating. I can either go down and sort out the C-pen, because I now know that the foundation line that I've got down there for the outer line is big enough for the structure I've made, so I haven't actually needed to extend it like I thought I might. So if I put the C-pen in, I can then also make the glass foundations down there invisible at the same time. I'll be very happy to get to that stage. And I also need to go through and add the windows to the central structure, but that will also get done as I fill in the rooms. Now, I probably won't be doing much internally. I'll see as I go along as to how it's going to turn out. The kitchen and whatnot are usually pretty standard. I'll run most of the stuff around the outside of the room. I won't need much in the way of actual structures in there. I'm really pleased that the foundations ended up being perfectly sized. So it's looking pretty cool. Like I said, I think I will go ahead and stick that extra line of foundations inwards. I only need a half stack of those, I think. Ooh, is that all I've got? And you'd be surprised how fast, well, if you're at this point, you're probably not surprised how fast you can go through resources. So I've been quite enjoying doing the process of recording all this. There's certain aspects of it that I have kept me from being able to get it done as quickly as possible. Like if I'm just playing the game, I can sort of do it whenever I feel like doing it. Whereas if, because I'm recording it, I have to sort of schedule it around when I can record, with the neighbours not having loud music or nobody else around that has to keep quiet just so I can record. But I'm looking forward to how people respond to the build. Like, I've maintained the thought that there's going to be very few people that watch the whole series through. But you know, I could be mistaken. I don't know how much of a draw there are for people who want to see raw builds, because I think just about every single tutorial I've ever seen on YouTube, which isn't a lot, because I don't go looking for other people's work. The ones I have seen have always been, this is how you do something, and then they'll show you the first 2 placements of that particular item, and then everything else is fast forwarded. And then they'll show another 2 placements of how you do it, and then everything's fast forwarded again. And personally, I like to see the process. I like to see how somebody's gone through it, what they're thinking as they're doing it. Some of the things, like how you justify or why you justify placing things the way you do, to me that's a very important part of building. Let's bring it back down to the 4, get rid of that, get rid of that. Get rid of the excess, I'll come back for more if I need it. And now we can do the inside run. Oops. Again, we don't have to worry about the dual snap point, so that's always good. Now I could have sloped the inside section of this. It wouldn't have been very hard. It's the same number of tiles, well, roughly the same number of tiles as putting the walls around the outside. However, as much as I like doing shaping, I've done a lot of shaping on the outside of the base. I want to keep some areas as being a little bit square. Oh, don't quote me on that. I usually try and avoid square as much as possible, but sometimes it's good. One of these days I'm going to have a go at building a square base, or at least start with a box and see if I can make it interesting without using triangle tiles. Or add some triangles, who knows. There's no way I could do vanilla building. And half the techniques that I use in S+, you just can't do in regular building. Like, just the foundation work. Although they did set up no clipping into the base game, so maybe it would work. But I remember playing when you just couldn't do it. You know, you're trying to place a few foundations across a beach and it looks fine, but it just suddenly stops placing. I hope there's another map that gets made. I'd love to see one that's all flyers. Aberration was really cool, but it's mostly like land dinos, land creatures. I want to see something with flyers. Balance it. Okay, so still a few things to do here. First things first, I've got to locate where I'm actually working here. Now, I could do a spiral staircase. What I would like to do, however, is a tick elevator. Now, because of the way I've built this, it isn't going to be as straightforward as you might imagine. So I'm going to need to do a little bit of fiddling to get that to line up. The tech elevators are really easy to place. It's just a matter of placing them in a position where they're going to line up with what's above. I haven't done that. Don't snap downwards. Doing pretty well. We're about halfway through the video for today. I still need to add the pillar work to support it. I'm still deciding whether or not I want to do multiple pillars or as few as possible. I'm actually kind of liking what it looks like from the outside, so who knows, I might add more than I was originally going to. Just stuff it just give me the whole lot. Oh, he's heavy now. Come on, run faster. Get fitter. I'm just gonna set the time of day a little bit earlier. Keep forgetting it's getting a bit dark. Stop trying to place on the Quetzal. There we go. That's my fault. Well, it's all my fault, but hey. Who wants to take the blame? Oops. So yeah, if you... I was on about motorbikes. Pretty sure that was this recording. God, you lose track. Whoops. Okay. Cool. Out of here. Yeah, I was talking about bikes. For those that are interested, I started out on an RGV 150S, which is a little baby bike. No fairings really. What I would call a naked bike. So it had a little bit of the way of fairings around the motor, but I moved on to a ZXR 250. Sorry, not ZX, TZR 250. That was proper fairings, so it has the coverings around the engine and it sticks out a little bit, so the riders themselves are tucked out of the wind. And I have to say that's probably my favourite bike. It was the most problematic of all of them, being two-stroke, but it was definitely an enjoyable experience to ride, and you kind of get addicted to the smell of the two-stroke oil. Don't ask me why, it's just a thing. Anybody that's had a two-stroke for a period of time will tell you the same thing. It's kind of enjoyable. Okay, so I'm going to need some walls. There's the railings. Let's take half a stack of those. I suppose I don't need any squares because they're already in place. So I'm going to skip this one, I'm going to add one over here. So what I'm going to do first is snap the other pillars in place and then work out if I want to add more. Oops, I haven't set up my hotbar. That's everything I need. Now I can lose this because I don't need it anymore. Oh, did I snap that to the right section? That's the question. No, I didn't. So that's what happens when you're not paying enough attention. Leave that one there. Oops, that one snapped to the wrong. Just see it at the moment. Start with that one. So yeah, after I had the TZR 250, I eventually got the ZXR 250. I'll shoot through the railing. Nope, I hit the railing. Yeah, I got a ZXR 250 there for a while. Redlined at 17,500 revs. As much as I liked it, like it was a very fast accelerating bike. My hands and feet used to tingle from lack of blood because it accelerated so hard. And I really did like that, but the actual overall feel, I much preferred the TZR. It was a very nice ride. The only thing with the TZR, it rattled a lot. Like everything rattled. I mean, it was a 1988, so pretty old school bike, but it used to randomly make funny noises. Nothing wrong with the bike. Well, there was plenty wrong with it, but the rattling noises were nothing actually physically wrong. It's just it happened to make noises. Usually, when your mind is elsewhere and you start stressing that something's going to fall off the bike or it's going to stop working. What am I trying to? Oh, snap it that way. Yep. So then itself was a little bit annoying, and one of the things with a lot of bikes is the way you take the fairings off to work on the engine. Now I'm not very good with motors or anything like that. I wouldn't claim to be, but sometimes you need to check your spark plugs or something simple that every kind of person should know how to do. You take the fairings off and they would never ever go on again the same way. And that would drive you nuts. It's one of those problems that if you've had it happen, you completely understand it. If you haven't, then you're probably gonna sit thinking, well, how's that work? Trust me, if you've experienced it, you'll know what I mean. It wasn't a problem. It's just frustrating when you're trying to get them back on, and everything looks like it should be lining up, but for some reason there's like a huge shift where it should actually be connected. Oops. But the TZR I had, it actually had a problem with it before I bought it. And there's a connector between the two cylinders, and if you imagine it was like two forks that are shoved together, pointy end together, and one drives the other side. So as one turns, it causes the other side to turn, and that was a bit stuffed, which means one cylinder doesn't rev up as much as the other cylinder, kind of thing. So that was all well and good, but I actually sold it to somebody, and the person that bought it, I actually knew him, and he pulled it apart, and the internals of it, apparently at some point something had happened in the engine and it had taken a gouge out of the housing. And so what did they do to fix it? Did they replace the part? Did they do some cool engineering to repair it? No, they got bog and filled it in. So that was a thing. Definitely not what you need in the middle of an engine, but there's some strange people out there. So we're getting up to the end of the video. We've still got a few more minutes to go, but we're definitely pushing on to the end of this one. Hoping to get these last few bits in place before we finish though. I'd like to get the elevators in place, so I'm going to have to shoot down and grab those. So I'm going to need at least 3. I think... Oh, hang on a second, why is that? Oh no, there is a gap there. No, that is right. Oh, I haven't removed these, that's why. This is the thing that I put into place to line it all up. I caught the corner of my eye and made me think that the pillars were in the wrong place. Oh, that was great. That's why you don't fire from a moving Quetzal. Because okay. Now, if this was problematic, the fact that I've got that big open section at the front there, if I have any creatures that ended up falling through that, like able to climb through it, one of the fixes that I've used in the past for extending cliff platforms where I've had stuff jump on them, jump up on them and like fall through the structure, I end up putting glass in there and just making it transparent. It's a real easy fix if you have problems. The only problem with that is occasionally you have to put quite a high structure on it, and when you go to fly past on a Quetzal or an Argy or whatnot and you forget that it's there, you end up flying into a wall. Especially when you've got somebody visiting your base from elsewhere, yeah, that tends to be a thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is hop up the top here and have a look where the structure is and what we can do. So what I would like to do is replace one of these squares. So I think I'll use demo and I'll come to the very edge here and pick it up. Okay, no, my overlay is in the bottom there, so that's cool. The server lag there must be saving. Okay, so for starters I'm going to make this opaque. You can see under there. So that's the back corner. So the one I want is this one here. Now, in order to do this, pick that up and I'm going to put that in. Damn. Okay, so I've got that snap from the top. Should be able to. Oh yeah, it is on there. Make opaque. Okay, now I've got all the connections on the other sides still connected, so I should just be able to... the trouble's going to be if I... yeah. So I wonder if I can actually adjust it up the top here so that it's a try as well. Oh yeah, I know what I could do. Actually make it a little bit more interesting. What I'll do is I'll put... oops, I snapped to the wrong place, I can see that. Try and... okay, I can't actually see it now. Place blind. Now, if I'm correct... no, that has placed wrong. Yep, okay, so that's placed right, that's placed right. No, that's still not going to work quite like I want it to. That's fine, it's picked up the wrong one. No, not the wrong one, but the other one. Okay, so things aren't quite like I would prefer them. So, that's not right. Actually, I will need that one in there. I will need to replace the square. So what I'm going to need to do is work out a way of placing it properly. So what I'm going to do is snap it up there, which seems pretty absurd, but I'll have to get creative here. Now that's a little bit further than I would like. If I snap it from the middle, I'll end up with it sticking out the back there, which wouldn't be so bad down here. So I can't snap it from the front because I need the front snap point. Snapping down from that, obviously I can't actually fill that in properly. So what I'll do is, I can't do that either. Come on, that's what I wanted. Okay, so that will fill that spot in. Obviously I'm going to have that lip at the front, which isn't ideal, but you get that on the big jobs. Don't like that. That is kind of ugly. Okay, so this isn't going to work the way I'd like it to. Fine, fall off. So, how am I going to snap it the way I do want it to? I think I'm going to need a fence foundation. What I might do is snap it off a fence foundation backwards, or actually snap it off the back side forwards. That's probably the best way. If I can do it like that. The question is, do I have any fence foundations? Okay, here's what I do. Okay, now I don't know what I've actually learned on this character since the last mind wipe. Stone fence foundation. There. Now the drawback to doing this is underneath there is going to be a fence foundation sticking through. So I'm going to test it with this and work from that, so I can always lift this up a little bit. And that is trying to place. No. No, that's not what I want. I want the... Okay, apparently I'm going to have to pick that up. Oh, of course I built the regular one. So in which case... that one. Where did I get one? Fine, I need one to test. So it's a free place. Chances of me actually being able to snap that into the right place are minimal. not wanting to snap at the bottom there. You sure there's a tile there? Have I got any try on me? I do. I need the ramps at the moment. Okay, looks like I picked it up at some point. So, in theory I could do that, but that means I'm going to end up with something sticking through underneath. I'm just going to have the same problem that I had before. Okay, so I'm going to have a think about this as to how I want to try and get it to snap into place. Mostly for what's going on around it. Because it's easy enough to place it in here and line it up with what's above. But I need to place it in here without it, without having big gaps around it. And that's going to be the challenge. I have some thoughts on how I might actually do it, but I'm going to save that for another video. I think I'll have a think about it while I have a cuppa and a coffee. I probably won't do any more recording today, but I'll definitely keep this in mind as to how I can proceed. So hopefully it won't take too much to get it done. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you liked it, make sure you do a thumbs up, give us that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you enjoyed what you see. This is definitely looking cool. I'm liking it myself. If you haven't already, just join the Discord and share any screenshots that have been inspired by my work in the tithing section. There's plenty of other sections in there, like the curator, which has screenshots from my various builds. Obviously this one is not in there just yet. Or it may be by the time this gets posted, who knows. Take care and enjoy your building.